Ceramic coatings are not as easy to apply as I make them out to be. What am I talking about? In so many of our videos, I say that coatings are easy to apply. As long as you do this, 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 and this, and this. Doesn't sound simple, doesn't sound easy. So is it truly easy to apply a ceramic coating, or do you need to know a few things first? Buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be a longer video and there's going to be a lot of information in this video. So if you hate long videos with lots of teaching and explanations, you probably don't want to watch this video. But if you're a new detailer who will eventually start to apply ceramic coatings, this is must-know information. Or if you are a customer, someone who wants to get a professional grade coating applied onto their vehicle the correct way, either by a professional or do it themselves, well, again, this video is for you. Now, I'm not going to go over the washing and deconning process of the vehicle. I have many videos on that process, so go and check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe, click the bell so you get future notifications, but go back and watch the hundreds of videos that we have on our cleaning process. But in this video, we're focusing on the prepping and application of the ceramic coating in particular. Now, what's more important, prepping the paint or the coating application? It's a trick question. I'll answer that a little bit later. But let's just quickly run through the wash and decon process, and then I'll show you the rest. So the washing and deconning step is done. For a brand new vehicle, it's pretty easy, it's pretty straightforward. Now, if you're dealing with maybe an older vehicle that the paint feels gritty and there's a lot of swirls, there's going to be extra work involved. Again, that's covered in previous videos that we've done in the past. But since this is a brand new vehicle, it's a beautiful metallic gray. It's a very forgiving color. And after inspecting it, we don't see any swirls. So the only polishing we're doing here is to prep the paint. Now, by prep, I mean removing any previously applied protection that might be on here. So other waxes and sealants, there's no coating on this. And you can usually tell in the wash process. It beads a little bit. It's not like the hydrophobics from a ceramic coating. And coming from a dealership, yeah, they're not going to be using true ceramic coatings. At least the majority of them are not. Now, if you're wondering what a ceramic coating looks like, this is what it looks like in the bottle. And this specific one here is from a company called G-Technic. It's called Crystal Serum Light. This is rated at a 3 to 5 year coating. Now, they put that stipulation 3 to 5 years because it depends on how you care for the vehicle. If it's a garage kept vehicle, it's washed often, or maybe not driven that often, kind of a garage queen or a weekend driver, you're going to get 5+ years out of it. But if it's a daily driver and you're still washing it on a regular basis, but you're not really doing that much to it, then you'll probably get about 3+ years out of it. So really, it depends on how you care for your vehicle. Ceramic coatings are not bulletproof. They're not just going to last its intended durability without doing any type of washing or maintenance on it. This is still the type of protection that needs to be cleaned often. That's just proper procedure for anything. If you want something to look nice and last a long time, you maintain it. And you make sure that it's not getting a heavy buildup of dirt and grime. That's just kind of common sense. But a lot of people forget that, especially in the detailing world, because they hear a lot of misinformation. So I'm here to inform and to debunk a lot of those myths about ceramic coatings and how to care for them. Now, again, This is easy for me to apply. And I say easy in a relative sense. Once you see how I apply it and how meticulous I am, you'll understand why I say it may not be as easy as I make it seem. But again, with proper understanding of the product and how to apply it, how to remove it, how to check with lights to make sure that everything is properly leveled so you don't end up with high spots or smears or streaks, that's really the most important thing. Now, to prep the paint, we're using an awesome system that I've been using for years and I trust, because I am seeing vehicles come back with incredible hydrophobics after 2-3 years with 2-year coatings, and with 5-year coatings they are reaching that mark of 5 years. This is a polish from a company called Dr. Beasley's. This is their NSP, or Nano Surface Primer 45. This is their finish polish. So they have 3 grades. They have a compound, a medium grade, and they have this fine grade. I'm going to use this today because we're not dealing with any swirls. I'm basically working this into the paint, wiping it off, and it's prepping and priming the surface for the ceramic coating. And this can be used with pretty much any ceramic coating on the market now. And we've been using this with G-Technic and Geon ceramic coatings for years, and we're getting incredible results. But again, not every single coating will work with this. There's some new ones coming out that have their own proprietary system that they use, and this may not work for that. So again, just check with the manufacturers with that if you're a detailing business, and make sure that it works in conjunction with the coating. Otherwise, if you don't want to use a primer and you kind of want to go old school, then you can just use whatever polish you want. Again, companies are going to come out with panel wipes that work with their coatings. For G-Technic, it's the panel wipe. But I find this stuff to be way too strong, in my opinion. I've used it in the past. It cleans the surface very, very well, but it doesn't have enough lubrication. So you end up dragging your towel, and that can cause some marring on soft paints after you've polished it and it looks beautiful. That's primarily for dark colors and maybe straight black paint that's very soft and it can scratch and mar easily. So that's why I opt to use the Dr. Beasley's primer instead. Once that product came out, I started experimenting with it and using it, and I've grown to really love that product. It preps the paint incredibly well. It can remove defects if you are dealing with defects on the paint, like light swirls and marring and maybe even some light scratches. But now, what about the trim? We have a lot of textured black plastic on here that also has to be coated. So I'm going to use a product that works really well for plastic. Now, there are specific plastic coatings like this one from Naziol, their trim coat. This works great. But today I'm going to use something that is a very versatile product from Geon. This is Geon Can Coat, and it's Evo. It's a new addition. It's a new formulation, and it lasts up to 2 years. Now, for plastics, I haven't really seen coatings on daily drivers, at least, go past 2 years. So the coating on the paint can be a 5-year coating, but for plastics, that's really hard to get a coating to last that long. It's a different surface altogether. It absorbs more, and the sun really breaks down the plastics. For plastic coatings, I can really only say 2, maybe 3 years, depending on how the vehicle is kept. But the application of Can Coat is so easy and so fast, it's perfect for plastic trim. So when we get to that, I'll show you how to apply this. Now, do you have to polish paint before you apply a ceramic coating? That's kind of a polarizing subject among detailers. However, it shouldn't be. It really comes down to common sense and the situation. If the paint needs polishing, you polish it. If it doesn't really need it because there's no swirls, well, it's up to you. You don't have to polish it. All you need to do is make sure the paint is clean. But how do you know if the paint is clean? Are those panel wipes enough to remove protection on the paint, or is it just for polishing oils? So there can be some debate over that. However, to really cut through all of that, why not just quickly polish the paint with something that's quick and easy? It doesn't take long at all. In fact, this whole process is going to take us less than an hour to polish everything. But the mechanical action of the pad, the polisher, and the polish that we're using is going to clean the surface. It has minor abrasives in that polish, and it is stripping away anything that's on the paint and leaving its own primed surface. So even if the vehicle doesn't need polishing, like this doesn't need swirl removal, doesn't need paint correction, But to mechanically polish with the product that we're using, it really does guarantee that the paint is perfectly ready and primed for a coating. That's why we do it. However, some detailers may opt out of the polishing, saying as long as the surface is clean. But yeah, there begins the debate. How do you know if it's truly, truly clean? Do you just spray water on it to see if it beads or not? It's not always an indicator. Paint can bead water even if it is perfectly smooth with no protection. I've tested it before. So that's why we're using that primer, and that's why we do a quick prep polish to ensure it's ready for the coating. Now, what about spots in the plastic like this? You're going to see this on Jeeps and SUVs that have the plastic fenders like this and giant tires. Dressing is going to fling from the tires onto your plastics and just kind of leave those spots. It's basically a silicone dressing that's absorbing into the plastics. Now, I do want to remove that so that it doesn't interfere with the ceramic coating going on the plastic. Keep in mind, that stuff is not only going on the plastic, but it's also going on your paint. So again, polishing just ensures proper mechanical cleaning of the paint. Big tires like this, when they're dressed with cheap dressings, it's going to splatter everywhere. I recommend cleaning your tires often and applying a water-based dressing. It may not last as long, but you're not going to get all this junk on your paint. So what do we do for those spots? Well, like I mentioned before, panel wipes are great for removing polishing oils and things like that. This I find too strong for the paint, but for plastics, it's perfect. So I'm going to apply it onto a towel, and don't worry about oversaturating it. It's good. It will clean, it'll deep clean the plastics really, really well and remove those spots. Since I'm holding the camera, I will open the door here after to get into the door, into the fender that goes underneath the door to get those spots. But once it dries and evaporates, now those spots are gone. Now, ceramic coatings on textured plastic like this, well, they're really not going to last past 2 or 3 years, depending on how the vehicle is cared for. Plastic like this, especially in the sun, is going to break down, it's going to absorb UV, and it's just not going to look good after a couple of years, even with a quality ceramic coating. The key to keeping your plastics looking good is cleaning them regularly, and every 2 years or so, or when it needs it, ceramic coat them. You can put dressings on here, and there's other trim protectors and restorers, but they are a temporary solution. Ceramic coatings are still temporary, but they at least last a few years. Now, this service includes the wheels being coated as well, but the face of the wheels. If you want us to remove the wheels, well, that's going to be a little extra because it takes a little bit more work. But we can also clean and coat the inner barrel of the wheel. That really does help with brake dust. So the fenders have been coated. The top portions here are in the process of being coated. Now, we're dealing with different materials here. We have rubber, and then we have the textured plastic. And even this textured plastic is slightly different than the roof textured plastic and the fender textured plastic, just slightly. But this coating can go on all of that. Now, you may see it going on to the rubber here. We already did this rubber. Why does that look darker than this? Because the rubber absorbs it. So it's still coating it, and you're never really going to get the rubber like this to go completely dark like when you first apply the coating. It's going to absorb it and kind of look like that again. But remember, it's a different surface altogether. It's still protected, but it's just not going to look the same. You can see here we're dealing with all sorts of different materials. Coat it all, it'll be all protected, but it's just going to play with your eyes and kind of make you think that it's not properly coated when it is. Just understand that it's different types of surfaces. Now, with this coating, here's how you apply it. You can see that she's applying it with the little pump applicator close to the applicator. Do not spray it away because it creates a fine mist, and if that mist gets onto anything and cures, you have little dots everywhere that you have to polish away. So when you squeeze that trigger, do it close to the applicator like that. Now here is the second important thing when it comes to applying a ceramic coating. And this is why I say it's not as easy as I make it out to be. As you see, I prepare for this moment to apply the coating so that everything is applied meticulously, and I'm going back and double and triple checking things to make sure I don't have any high spots. A high spot is basically when the coating has smeared onto a section, it wasn't wiped off or leveled completely, and it's cured that way. So it's basically just an over application. It's just a smear of the coating that wasn't wiped away or leveled. And once that cures, you can't just wipe it away. It has to be polished away. Coatings are very, very hardy. You can't just wipe them away when you have a streak like that after it's cured. So I have other videos on how to remove high spots, and there's, certain polishes and methods that you can use to remove those high spots. It's not a big deal. It's not going to ruin anything. You don't have to repaint your vehicle. Don't worry about that. And you don't have to wet sand either. Just polishing it with a certain polish will remove the high spot without compromising the coating. But here's where it gets very technical. I'm going to make sure to use brand new towels. I use brand new towels for coatings every single time. I'll wash these towels and use them again for other details, but never again for a coating application. And also a brand new applicator. Now this is kind of a special applicator. It has a liner in it, so when the coating is absorbing into this top little microfiber layer, it's a thin microfiber layer, it's not going to absorb into the foam underneath. It kind of stops. Some detailers like it and they claim they can use less coating. I bought them just because they were on sale and they're fine, but I've used other types of applicators before with absolutely no problem. So that's just kind of a personal option for many detailers. But the applicator here, a microfiber one, and I'll show you how I apply it, and even kind of how I hold it and apply it onto the paint. That's also important. Now, the towels, I have two. One for the initial wipe off, and then the second for the second wipe off, kind of the final buffing, if you will, and I will be checking with lights. So I have a little handheld light here that's really bright. It also has a top spotlight here to check the paint, and you want to check all around the paint when you're done wiping a section. And even when you're done with the entire vehicle, I'll go around with the light from a distance at different angles, because sometimes if you're too close, you're not going to see a certain section of the paint that might have a smear. So you need to kind of back away, let your eyes kind of reset, and look at the paint again from different angles, from a little farther away, and with different sources of lights. That's why you see all these different sources of lights, because I have found that lighting is extremely important when it comes to detailing in general, polishing paint, but especially coatings. You need all sorts of light. Now, for the coating itself, this is how we apply it. This is how we wipe it off. You're going to see the sections that I work with here, especially the size of the section. And again, you can start with a smaller section when you're a beginner and slowly move on to doing bigger and bigger sections as you get more comfortable with the coating. But let's get on to the application. Now, I also have an apron here, and I keep my towels in the apron, and I have a specific order that I do things. So when it comes to applying coatings, this is where I am the most OCD and meticulous because of, the importance of applying and leveling of the coating. Once again, if done incorrectly, you're gonna hate coatings. But let's go through this systematically. So here's the applicator, and I'm gonna apply this much coating. It's not a lot. I filled the pipette maybe about a third of the way. That's it. And that's really all you need for each section. So I butterfly it just to spread it out a little bit. And here's how we go about applying it. I'm going to work in kind of like a quarter section of the hood here. What I'm going to do is box it out, which means outlining it. I'll go right down the middle diagonally and then draw a box. Now I'm just going to systematically and carefully go in a crosshatch pattern. You can if you need to, but straight lines like this. And if you want to crosshatch, which means going back over it this way, you can. It's just a way of ensuring complete coverage. But if you're confident enough, if you're seeing with all the lights here, which I can, if you can see that all of the paint is coated to the proper degree, all the way across, there's no gaps, there's no missing spots, then you don't have to crosshatch. That's just kind of a beginner's way of making sure the paint is perfectly uniformly coated. Now with this coating in particular, this has a certain flash point and it's noticeable. You will see it. You can see how it's very blurry here. That's where I applied it, and then you go on to here where it's nice and glossy. Heat, humidity, and moving air will make this coating flash much quicker, much faster. And you'll know it's ready to wipe off when you see it evaporating and creating a lot of these lines. You'll see it more and more predominantly appearing as the carrier fluid flashes away and it's leaving those ceramic particles to bond onto the paint. So now you can see those little lines. See how that's kind of streaky looking? That's okay. You can continue to wait until it is looking like this. The entire section that you coated will have those little lines, little tiny beads. So right at this point, this is at the point where you can wipe it away. It has flashed away enough where it's just leaving these little lines. Now we can wipe it away. Now that it has flashed away enough, it's not about time, it is about the visual indicator. So don't just say a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's not going to really cut it. What you need to do is look at it and see how it's responding. Because again, with heat and humidity and moving air, if I had a fan blowing in here, it would flash away much quicker. In fact, you can even fan it with the towel like that to move it along, and it starts to evaporate much quicker. So initial wipe like this will get about 90% of it. And again, I'm folding the towel in on itself. I use this side. I fold it in on itself and tuck it into my pocket of the apron. Pull out the second towel, and here's where I'm going to check with lights. And basically I'm just making sure that there's no smeariness, because if you don't wipe it away completely, it'll have a little bit of a smeary appearance, or maybe there'll be some like little streaks, little lines here and there that maybe you missed or the towel pushed. And that's why I'm going in circular motions like this, because it's kind of mimicking like a mopping up of the surface, not just straight lines like this. If you've ever seen in movies how they mop floors and they just push dirty water around, ugh, it's horrible. No, circular motions. Actually, with mopping, you go like this, almost in a figure 8 motion. That you can do as well, but just circular motions like this help to pick up any coating around the perimeter. And that's what you're doing, checking all around the perimeter, even down here. I haven't coated this fender yet. I want to make sure that if it went on into the fender, that I'm wiping it away and leveling it. Basically what you're doing is taking away the rest of the carrier fluids. Basically it's the particles are suspended in that fluid, and the fluid evaporates, leaving the particles to bond and lay onto the paint and kind of create a grid system. Once you gently wipe that away, those ceramic particles are already bonding to the paint. So you're not wiping away the ceramic coating, you're wiping away the carrier fluid on top while the bottom layer has already bonded. So that's why you see us doing this, wiping with multiple towels. And you will feel the slickness with this coating in particular, and with most coatings, but this one in particular is extremely slick, and you can feel it going across the paint with the towel. From here, super slick. Here, a little grabby. All right, that looks great. So once again, more onto the applicator, about the same amount that I did last time. I'll butterfly it, and then once again, same process. I'm going to block out this quarter section of the hood, and it's okay to overlap. In fact, it's good to overlap. You're not going to be applying double of the coating when you overlap. It's okay. It's just going to bond to the paint itself and leave the same amount of coating on the paint. Nice. So instead of cross-hatching this time, I'm just going to go back over it in the same straight line. Once again, it's just ensuring that you get perfect, uniform coverage. Now I'm going to let that do its thing. You can fan it. Moving air will help evaporate the particles quicker. It's not going to mess with the bonding, because once it's evaporating, it's bonding onto the paint. So this can go pretty quick. Once we get all those lines like that, we can go ahead and start wiping away and leveling the carrier fluids. All right, that's the majority wiped up. Second towel, and I'll check it with lights in a moment. Or, in fact, I actually have a lot of light in this section right now that I can see that I really don't even need the light. Maybe around these areas, because I don't have any light on this side. So I want to make sure if I get it onto the grill, I want to make sure that it's wiped off properly. And if you get this on the plastics or the glass, just like with can coat, not a problem. Wipes right off. Beautiful. Now at this point you may be thinking, you make it look so easy. And again, it is. But we've been doing this for many years. And we're very used to coating vehicles and working with all sorts of different ceramic coatings and understanding how they work and seeing how durable they truly are, especially in the real world. Lots of customers are coming back with their vehicles. We have them on either 3-month or 6-month plans. And they come back and the vehicles look incredible, and they bead up water like it's like we applied it. And many of the vehicles are coming back and it looks like we just applied the coating. It responds incredibly well, cleans off easily. Now, granted, because it may be 2 to 3 years or more, there's going to be some imperfections in the paint. If they're daily drivers, there's going to be little water spots, little things here and there that just build up over time. Ceramic coatings are not going to be bulletproof, and they are not going to 100% stop any type of debris or junk getting onto your paint and causing some sort of staining. It makes it easier to clean if you get to those spots early. But like anything, if you don't clean often and get that debris off your paint, or dirt or bird droppings or bugs or anything, all that stuff can be very corrosive. Bird bombs, bugs, and sap and tar, and hard water, or maybe salt from off the roads. Those things are the most corrosive things to your paint, and it will cause a lot of problems. So again, just washing your car on a regular basis and keeping layers of protection will just make things last longer and look better. But again, there's going to be imperfections. There's no way of stopping it 100%, but you can mitigate it to a certain degree. And I have to say that to be realistic, because there's lots of misinformation about ceramic coatings, saying that they are rock chip resistant, they're swirl resistant, they will resist all bugs and all bird droppings and everything, just kind of making it out to be too good to be true. And it's exactly what it is. Those things are too good to be true, and it's not reality. The reality is, this is an incredible protective product, but nature will find a way. Now, off camera, I can fly through this because I'm not, distracted teaching and demonstrating and, going at a slower pace. But really, we can get this done in less than an hour. And Wifey has already completed the wheels and all of the lower half of the trim. I still have to do the cowl and all the top plastic. And that's it, and it'll be done. So it's a process that for people who are used to doing it, we fly through it pretty quickly. But it's a learned process. It's kind of like a finished carpenter. You may see on social media or YouTube a carpenter cutting these beautiful 45s, and all the trim pieces and everything just fits together beautifully. All the joints just come together. He's using all the right tools. He makes it look so easy. But if you've ever tried to do that stuff yourself, if you don't have the correct precise tools or the patience or the know-how to figure out how to do those precise miter cuts and all those things that, finished carpenters do, well, they make it look easy in videos. But in real life, that takes skill. It takes experience. It takes practice. So that's why you see us doing certain things and it may look easy, but in reality, it's just 10 years of experience and practice and knowing what we're doing. That's why we're so efficient. That's why we can do things so quickly, but that's also why we charge a certain amount. It is kind of a specialty work. And there's nothing really that special about this coating. There's so many different coatings out there. In fact, you can even buy this on Amazon and use it yourself if you really wanted to. But if you don't know how to polish a vehicle, if you don't know how to remove certain defects on your paint or how to prep it properly, and then you apply this without any practice or knowledge of the product, do you think you're going to have a good final finish? You be the judge on that, I guess. I do find this process also to be very relaxing. It's not noisy. There's no polisher. There's no vibration of the polisher. It's just meticulously applying this protection onto the paint and making sure that everything is leveled and looking nice. It's kind of the cherry on top, really, of the entire process. After all of the work that you put into it, this is the most meticulous, but the most enjoyable and the easiest part of the job. So what I'm going to do now is put the camera in the corner so you can watch the rest of the process here, kind of in a time lapse, and then we'll show you the final result. And then I'll show you how we do the plastic on the roof. It's pretty much the same as we did on all the rest of the trim, but just a very large area. So we want to make sure that it's done evenly because we're dealing with large panels up there as well. So we got to make sure that it's done nice and even so we don't leave any weird blotchy or streaky areas. So after all of that, if you still have questions, which you might, let me know down below. Once again, if you are a new detailer and you're getting into ceramic coatings, do as much research as possible and practice as much as possible. And if you want to get your vehicle ceramic coated like this by a professional detailer, well, I'll have my information down below. Feel free to reach out. If you want to see some other videos on ceramic coatings, here's a playlist. Tons of videos.